Jana tunatoka game imeisha. Tunakabla kome. Wewe. Ochi the dog.
You guys, this guy was chased by the dog.
Sije funguka hivyo. Hata Bolt anazani.
Nilikuwa na nguso hapa. The last nikiangalia juu nguso zuko.
He jumped shouting towards me. Ngasha alikuwa nyuma.
You get that dog was pulling him.
Yeah. It was not pulling him. I'm saying nilijipata hospitality tent.
You should have seen Goose Hipad.
Wow.
Oh, that doggy that was there.
Guys, take those things. Nothing. Until
even it's done.
Why would you want to go near it?
No, because
Singus wanted to go out with his brother.
You can Goose Hipad.
His fellow dog. That's my dog. Siga. Enjoy manual.
The one for Ilekos is like, hey, Daki bado yuko hajatoka.
I'm sure they think like he's some Sudanese guy who's gonna learn Swahili, man.
Like you're black, you're Komerela.
Really?
Yeah, we chapa.
Kaya chachi.
I go with
What about the churches?
that was terrible, man.
We chapa.
Has he taken over from my jokes?
Yeah.
Hey, no.
Wait, but we've gone with yes.
Hey, Damima's jokes.
Hey, you guys, let's go. Let's stop.
Episode 37, part 2 of Kenya's premier sports video podcast, the Three Quarters podcast. The Kenya Simbas are still hoping to qualify for the Rugby World Cup in 2019. Let's support them by jumping onto the hashtag Road to Japan. As you know, they are the superstars of rugby in Kenya. I'm Jemima Duffield.
This is Ngashi, official noisemaker. I'm Jerry Ngoose, Kenyana.
Alright, so bad man of the week.
Bad man.
Yes, that will come from our Kenya-Hong Kong game. So yes, start us off.
Well, I don't think we have many from our side because our guys are not having a good day on the field. However, I'll give a shout to Joshua Chisanga once again. He's showing us what a back row is supposed to do. Yeah, he had a very good game. A couple of turnovers of the breakdown. I'll give a nod to him from our side. However, I'll stick with even the guys that my bad man of the week would be Matthew Rosley, the number 10 of Hong Kong. The guy was fantastic on the day. His kicking especially, man. When it comes to conversion of the penalties, I think he had 100% conversion rate. And territory-wise, wow. That guy kept on turning our guys out. At one point in the stands, we were even trying to coach the likes of Darwin. Fall back. There's a lot of space. And the guy literally kicked behind Darwin, turned him. By the time he was getting there, the ball was already out. So my man of the match, I'll stick with Matthew Rosley.
Alright, what about you?
From our Kenya side, the guy who impressed me the most was Oliver Mangeni when he came on. From the lineouts, from his break that resulted in Samson and Somo's try. And of course also, there's a reason they called it the engine room, the second row. So our scrums were a bit stable when he came in. But I do agree with Ngoose. My bad man of the week is also Matthew Rosley. And essentially it's for the reasons that Musalia said, because running, the way he commanded his backline, his touch finders, not even necessarily his points kicks, but his touch finders, I think were very good. And that thing of just putting them behind the back three, and they bounce into touch. So for a fly half to have the awareness to do some of those things, you have to give him props. So my bad man was Matthew Rosley. I do agree.
Alright, okay, so now we move on to Rugby 101, where we teach you about all matters rugby.
So we're still on the amendments that have been made to the rules by the World Rugby Executive Committee. These rules, of course, have already been tested at the Women's Rugby World Cup. But on the men's side, they'll come into play in the autumn tests that will be happening later on this year. So we'll be discussing the rule of throwing the ball into the scrum. And now there will be no signal from the referee moving forward, number one. Number two, you are required to throw the ball straight. We have been seeing cases of feeding, for lack of a better word. So yeah, which is exactly
Yes,
fitting the scrum. So now the ball has to be thrown straight at the middle of the scrum. Of course, is where they join, the front rows join. However, the scrum half is allowed to align his shoulder with the middle of the scrum, and therefore he has a shoulder width on the side, on his side, on his side. I don't know what their reasoning is. They are saying that the reasoning is to promote a fair contest, but also give a slight advantage to the team who are feeding.
Okay. That's a little like an oxymoron.
Exactly. That's what the World Rugby is saying. But I don't think it's going to change too much, because the feeding happens nowadays. It's just going to. I don't think it's going to. My point is, I don't think it's going to change that much.
Okay.
Then these new rules, have they taken effect on the Northern Hemisphere already? Then the Southern Hemisphere is much later.
No. The first test was the Women's Rugby World Cup. In the men's version, it's going to be at the autumn tests in later on in the year. So I guess what they're doing, what now local rugby organizations are doing, is that slowly you're transitioning and you're getting your refs, because even the refs have to educate it. Exactly. So I guess we see it in the men's version later on in the year.
All right, thanks for that. Now we move on to Simba Focus, where with all the tests done, who would you say is your most outstanding player?
Wow, I have a couple of guys, but I think some were expected. The likes of Joshua Chisanga. I think there was a lot of hype behind.
I mean, there's always a lot of hype.
Yeah. But my most outstanding player, I think, I'll go with the current 9, Samson Nsomu. Yeah, he's really had, I think, a fantastic season, test-wise. I think he scored every test match apart from maybe 1 or 2. Yeah, the guy's really had a good outing apart from. Okay, let's talk about the Hong Kong game as well.
Yeah,
and he was a bit off, and that happens sometimes. Even to the best of us, can have a good day and a bad day as well. So I'll go with Samson Nsomu. He's been good at that position 9, and it's good competition for the likes of Lila Sligua, Chayo.
Yep.
Let's see them stepping up.
I think one thing to note with Sam is the fact that he'd not previously really been on the team. He had some big shoes to fill, but now he's left his footprints, and now everyone else needs to fill in those shoes. So.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that I was reading an interview he had where he was saying that he actually modeled his game around Achaya's game, Erin Achaya's game. And I was having a chat with Erin Achaya during the week, and I was telling him, this guy, when I watch Samson Nsomu, I always get the feeling I'm watching you play. And he's like, of course, but he also has age on his side, because Samson is quick, he's quite fast. It's quite fast.
Yes.
But I mean, just a couple of guys to mention, of course, Joshua Chisanga. Darwin never disappoints. Darwin Mkidza, he always has us going. I want to mention Jacob Oje, because he's just come back from a horrific injury last year, and he's had a commanding performance in number 11. Leo Seje on off. He has his problems in defense, but which is shocking. I learned he was a flanker in high school, so I don't know if it's a problem in defense. But I do agree with this. My guy is Samson Nsomu. He's been very electric, and I remember, I can't remember which episode it was, but there was an episode we were talking about the squad we'd like to see shape up for the Kenya Simbas. And I remember the argument I was having with Ngusa at the time was that I'd pick Samson Nsomu at that time because he gives you an extra attacking option off the base of the rack. So, and he's done that very well throughout the international season. So
and he's transformed into becoming a kicking scrum.
Yes, exactly. He mounted a massive box kick in this last Hong Kong game. So I do agree, Samson Nsomu.
All right, so well done to all of those boys. Now we move on to Matters 7s. Local 7 circuit starts. That will be on the 2nd and 3rd of September in Mombasa.
What the good thing about sevens is festival rugby.
Yes.
Therefore, and it's a good. I think most of the teams, what they normally do is that they try out a couple of their guys. To see who's going to be slotted into the Kenya Cup teams. So it's a good platform for the guys who have not been recognized or who want to be recognized to put on their boots, lace up, and give us a show during sevens. But the most important thing about sevens rugby is the festival aspect.
So for good times,
yeah,
so
it's
both
good.
fans can actually enjoy. The core fans and the fans
And the fans and
fans
funds.
for fans.
Yes,
We go down south. Let's go to coast
Yep.
and enjoy it and enjoy the beach.
Yeah, for some of us who are going to combine vacations with
Hey, why you give you that side? Yeah, taking Ash on a holiday.
no. I'm straight, viewers. I'm straight.
All right, then we move on to women's rugby.
Yeah.
Where we had the Women's Rugby World Cup and New Zealand won. Who would you say, or what would you say impressed you?
Number one, turnout. The turnout in Ireland. Of course, I mean, Ireland is like a home of rugby.
Yes.
So the turnout was very impressive. Of course, we were seeing the new rules now coming into play. However, the biggest issue for me was that there's, again, the disparity between the top tier nations and the other guys who had qualified. We were seeing century scores. World Rugby needs to do something for that. Another shocking thing is that in the New Zealand team, only 7 women are contracted. The others are amateurs, and that's New Zealand.
Yeah.
You can imagine.
That
So
powerhouse.
exactly. So I think World Rugby also needs to put in a bit of focus in women's rugby. It has been left. It has been left kando, and I think they need to focus a bit more on women's rugby. But my standout person, of course, was Portia Woodman from New Zealand.
Of course,
Yeah.
of course. Who wouldn't see Portia?
Yeah, I
mean,
think she stood out.
I mean, not only her speed, her strength, she's so aware of the game.
Yeah.
It's like she knows exactly what she's doing. She's like a step ahead of everyone else.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I was actually shocked. Okay, not shocked per se. I was impressed
Yeah.
by the technical bit of these top tier teams, especially like England, the final itself, New Zealand versus England. I could see these guys are really technically gifted, or they worked on their technical bit so much that it's quite impressive. Someone was trying to tell me the other day that the New Zealand fans could actually beat Kenya Simbas.
The black ones.
I was like, yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
technical-
Just maybe.
Just maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Put a pin in
Now
that, yeah.
we'll move on to more international rugby.
Yeah.
Bledisloe Cup. We had New Zealand host Australia, and scores were 39-29.
35.
Sorry, 35-29.
Yeah.
How was that game for you?
Dunedin has been a fairly good hunting ground for Australia, because the last time they beat New Zealand was actually in Dunedin, in Carisbrook. And when Australia came to Dunedin this time, they put on a good show. It was I feel, an excellent performance from Australia. They upped their game from what had happened the previous week to get to a point where it was 17-0 to the Wallabies. I think they played some very good rugby. Will Guinea, we're starting to see some flashes of the Will Guinea we knew 2011. So it was a good showing by Australia. Unfortunately, I think All Blacks are just above everyone else when it comes to grinding out results.
Yep.
And that's what happened, especially the last try was just brilliant. So, but kudos to Australia. You have to give props to Australia.
Yeah. All right, so we had another game that was Argentina versus South Africa, and South Africa won 41-23. What do you have to say about that game?
Well, I'm biased, being a box fan. 41-23. I expected South Africa to win, but not with this bigger margin. Yeah, and considering they were playing away as well, and they've been a bit shaky the last couple of years. So this was a good showing from South Africa.
Yeah, 41-23 is definitely a good showing. Anyway, you can follow us on social media. That is by liking our page on Facebook, following us on Instagram, and also subscribing to our YouTube channel. I'm Denima Duffield.
This is Nyashi, official noisemaker.
I'm Jerry Ngoose, Kenyana.
See you in part 3.